What's going on, everybody? So in this video, I'm not only going to be showing you how to actually profit when you sports bet, but possibly one of the easiest and most profitable strategies to use when sports betting. And in this video, I'm going to show you 3 different strategies that I use personally on an everyday basis to make over $145,000 in 2025. And make sure you stay around to the end of the video, because the third strategy that I actually use on these sports books is possibly one of the most profitable strategies that I've not only found but used myself. So that being said, let's get into the video. Now in this video, I'm going to use Hard Rock to show you how to take advantage of these player props and game lines, but you can use any sports book or even a sweepstake book that you need or you have available in your state. And I'm also going to be using upside tools to find these plays and find these discrepancies that we're going to be taking on these sports books that are really profitable when betting on. Now, taking advantage of sports books is actually extremely easy. The only issue is they're going to limit you very fast. They're going to stop you from betting on player props, game lines, or any single market on their app. Now, some of these apps will actually completely ban you instead of just limiting you, and they'll stop taking your bets all at once. Now, on Hard Rock, I'll show you I'm actually limited to $10 on NBA player props. Anything to do with player props, I'm limited to $10. As you can see here, I picked a random prop at Austin Reeves over 20.5 points. And what you'll notice is if I go to place a $100 bet, it wagers me to $10 as a maximum. Now, if I put this in, it will let me place the bet, but I can only bet $10 at a time. Now, for guys who scale their bankroll and follow all my tips and tricks, this is kind of counterintuitive to scaling and raising your unit size. So how can I make more than $15,000, $20,000 on Hard Rock? You can't. And that's the main problem with these sports books. And that's why I highly recommend on getting on NoVIG, Kalshi, or any of these exchanges that you can take advantage of. Now, if you do want to know how to take advantage on exchanges like NoVIG and Kalshi and ProfitX, go take a look at my other video I posted. It shows exactly how to take profitable sports bets, even when betting against really sharp bettors with no limits. But back to this. How can I take advantage of Hard Rock, DraftKings, FanDuel to the point where I'm actually limited like I am on these NBA player props? The first thing I would recommend is going to the game line optimizer and the player prop optimizer on Upside Tools. Now, as you can see here, there's tons of books to choose from Hard Rock, FanDuel, DraftKings, Circa, Bovada. Any book that you need access to, you can take a look right here. Now, for you, I would choose 1 to 2 books that you're going to be using in your state, and then select that book, and let's take a look at what we see. Now, as you can see, after I've selected Hard Rock, there's a filters button up here, which I want to click, and then click the fair value model, and then what I'm going to do is select MAT game weights. Now, these game weights are much different than the MAT prop weights. What are these? These are essentially weighting the sharpest books in the world, which are Pinnacle and Circa. Now, these are the sharpest books when it comes to game lines and totals and even spreads. Anything to do with the actual game market, these are the sharpest lines that you can follow. What's going on, guys? Just quickly before we continue, you can literally get a 5-day free trial with all the tools I use in this video. Plus, if you use code ICON at checkout, you'll get 25% off. Now let's get back to it. Now, although these lines are very sharp, we want to essentially follow the discrepancy with these lines, remove the juice that they have on top of their lines, and see what the fair line value is. And once we get that fair line value, essentially we just want to find if we have a discrepancy on our book. That way we're taking profitable EV bets. So once we have our game line value set, what we essentially want to do is take a look at what odds we have and compare it to the rest of the market. Now, as you can see, there's actually a huge EV play currently sitting on the market, a plus 1500 money line for this tennis player to win. Now, this is a huge discrepancy to Pinnacle, one of the sharpest books in the world. Now, if we click right here, we'll be able to see the rest of the market and what it's sitting at. And if you take a look at Pinnacle, we actually have a cross market with them. Now, what does a cross market mean? Upside Tools does this for you, but essentially it will highlight this number green and highlight this number green. Essentially, if we were to go to an arbitrage calculator, which if you click right here, you open up in a new tab, you click arbitrage right here. Now, if you put in the top of Hard Rock's odds and the bottom of Pinnacle's odds, essentially what you'll notice is you have a 99.94 payout, which is essentially a 6-cent loss on this arbitrage bet. Now, is this technically an arb? No, but essentially you're not losing any money other than 6 cents if you take this side to win on Hard Rock and you take this side to win on Pinnacle. Now, that's a huge indicator of a cross market, which means one of these lines are set wrong. I'm more than confident enough to just go off of Pinnacle's line here, and if we DVIG Pinnacle, which is the best way to remove the juice, and we can actually find the fair value line of what Pinnacle is really setting this at, essentially we want to go back down here, click calculators, open it up in another tab, and click the NoVIG calculator. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the top of Pinnacle and the bottom of Pinnacle, and we're essentially going to find out what the NoVIG odds are. So plus 799 at the top and then minus 1515 at the bottom. Now once we click calculate, you'll see plus 843 at the top and minus 843 at the bottom. Those are the fair odds of Pinnacle, which means that's exactly what the odds should be set at after removing the juice from Pinnacle. So if you were to place a bet at plus 843 or minus 843 over the long term, you should break even completely. Now that being said, if we take a look at the line we have on Hard Rock at plus 1500, we'll notice that we have over a 650-cent edge compared to the fair odds of Pinnacle, the sharpest game line book in the world. Now, if we take a look over here on Hard Rock, all we want to do is type in his name, take his money line at plus 1500, and wager as much as possible. And what you'll notice is, even on tennis, I'm also limited to $11.67. So that means that I cannot actually place this bet for more than $12 because they limit my action because I'm such a profitable sports bettor. Now, although this is 30% EV and a really good play to take, it's a very heavy underdog and very unlikely to win. But why am I taking this bet? Now, although this is very unlikely to happen, also very unlikely that we hit a 25x on PrizePicks, but that's the most profitable slip type. We still play those. Why not play this exact play over here on Hard Rock? Now, obviously, you want to wager your unit size appropriately. I would not be playing a full unit on this play. It would be more or less 0.25 units, a parlay type unit sizing. That's not the only thing that's on this board. As you can see here, this minus 135 money line and the comparison to Pinnacle is a minus 166. Now, once again, if we open this up, we can see minus 166 at Pinnacle, plus 126 on the bottom. Now, once again, if you click right here, you'll notice we also have a green box, aka a cross market with Pinnacle, which is also a very good sign that this is a profitable sports bet. Now, if we have a cross market with Pinnacle, it is actually guaranteed that this is going to be a profitable sports bet when it comes to money lines, spreads, or game totals. Now, as you can see, we also have the comparison of DraftKings and BetRivers. Once again, BetRivers is completely off, which is normal, but DraftKings and Pinnacle pretty much agree, which is very nice to see. And Pinnacle, once again, being the sharpest book in the world, I can trust them completely with their line being set. Now, their line being set at minus 166 and plus 126, I already know this is a profitable sports bet as it's a 30-cent discrepancy from the top of both of these plays, but also we have a cross market. But if we want to go a step further and double check that we're actually getting a really profitable sports bet, all we need to do is put the top of Pinnacle here and the bottom of Pinnacle here. And once again, we'll notice we have minus 141 as a NoVIG odds on the top and plus 141 on the bottom. Now, if we go back to our optimizer, we see we have minus 135 on Hard Rock, which is a 6-cent discrepancy to the minus 141 fair odds line that is set on Pinnacle. Now, if we took this minus 141 line over and over the long term, we would break even. So getting this line at a 6-cent discount, we are getting an extreme profit margin over the long term. So as you can see here, I'm going to go back over to Hard Rock. I'm going to select this minus 135, and I'm going to go ahead and put as much money as it basically allows me to put on this bet, and I'm going to place the bet. Now that we put in 2 profitable EV game line spreads, you can see how easy it is to take advantage of absolutely any sportsbook in the world. The same strategy holds between FanDuel, DraftKings, anything you can find value on this optimizer, you can take advantage of every single day. Now, another really good strategy I like to use is the player prop optimizer strategy, where essentially I'm doing the exact same thing, but on these filters, I'm going to the fair value model. I'm selecting the map prop weights. Now, why is this a lot different than the game line weights? We're not going to be weighting the exact same books. We're not going to be weighting Pinnacle or Circa, the game line books. We're going to be following one of the sharpest player prop books at FanDuel, and then we're going to also be following the sharpest exchanges that take the most action behind FanDuel at NoVIG and ProfitX. Now, another player prop book, like I mentioned earlier, that's not bad at setting their lines is DraftKings, so we're also going to be weighting DraftKings along with those 3. This, in my opinion, being the best weightings you can put when finding player props on Sportsbooks or even the exchanges. Now, as of right now, it's pretty late in the day, so we're not going to find much value, but what you'll notice is you can essentially do the exact same thing on this board that you did on the game optimizer. You go to these players, you take a look at FanDuel and DraftKings and the exchanges, and you essentially do the exact same thing you do over on PrizePicks when building a parlay. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you go check that video out because it's the exact same process when you're building these 6-mans on PrizePicks to be able to beat these DFS apps. But essentially what we want to do is we want to compare the odds we have on Hard Rock and compare the odds we have on FanDuel and the rest of the books. Now, just to give you a good example of a good player prop to take, I opened up the DraftKings side of things and I click on this bet right here, and you'll see I have minus 132, minus 130, and minus 134 on the 3 sharpest books / exchanges that we should be comparing to. Now, as you can see, we have a 1.9% EV at minus 116. Now, that is over a 16-cent difference between FanDuel and an 18-cent difference between NoVIG, which makes this a very profitable play. So all we would want to do is is type in James Harden on DraftKings, click the under 19.5 points, and go ahead and put some money on this bet. Now, remember, when putting in straight bets on these sports books, whether it's player props, game lines, or totals, you have to understand that you're compounding EV every single time. Although you're only putting in 1 to 2 to maybe 5% on every single bet, if you put in 1,000 bets a month, you have to understand that compounds every single day. Now, another thing is, if you're scaling your bankroll and your unit size appropriately, you will notice that you're actually able to scale your unit size to the point where you're betting $50 to $100 per unit, and you're actually getting limited on these sportsbooks quicker than you think. Even if you start at a $100 bankroll betting $1 to $2 every single bet, if you scale your bankroll appropriately, I can assure you, you're able to get to $1,000, $2,000, or even $10,000 in your bankroll unless you get limited first. Now, another really in-depth strategy I use to find really profitable sports bets, whether that's player props or game lines on Upside Tools, is essentially going to a whale watch tool. Now, to show you that this doesn't just work on Hard Rock or DraftKings, maybe the main books, but you can even select a book like Bovada that's technically an offshore book and still find value for player props and game lines. Now, I don't set any filters or settings on my whale watch tool. Essentially, I just select the book that I look through, and then I essentially just go through the top to the bottom. And what I'm looking for here is what the sharp money is saying, plus what the rest of the books say in comparison. So as you can see right here, this is one of my favorite props on the board right now. Ryan Hartman under 2.5 shots on goal. As you can see on Bovada, it's listed at -115. So if I go over to Bovada right now, the odds are -115. And if I compare the rest of the market, which is what I would typically do on the player prop optimizer, is I'll see that FanDuel is sitting at -135. DraftKings is sitting at -125, -128 over on NoVIG. So as you can see, Bovada is clearly at a discrepancy than the rest of the market. It's clearly mispriced. But another really in-depth strategy is essentially the sharp money being bet on right now. As you can see, there's over $418 at -117 being bet on Ryan Hartman. Now, with Ryan Hartman being a player prop, anything over $200 to $300 of liquidity being placed on this bet is a strong signal that a very sharp bettor either knows something we don't know or has a very high conviction that this should be going on the side they choose. For example, they're putting this down at -117 for $418, and $418 is a very strong conviction that they believe that he should be going on the under at 2.5 shots on goal at the line -117. Now, that being said, we have the exact same line at -115 over here on Bovada, so we can essentially follow that sharp whale bettor at $418 of liquidity at a better line than what they're getting it at -117. So not only with the whale watch tool are we able to find player props and game lines, we're also able to compare the sharp books, the rest of the market, and we're able to see where the sharp money is being flown through, and we're able to follow along these very sharp signals that these whale bettors are taking every single day. Now, what I did is I went ahead and unselected the book so you can see the power of this whale watch tool. If I go ahead and take a look at FanDuel, what you'll notice is DraftKings, a sharp player prop book, is sitting at +112, and NoVIG, a very sharp exchange, is sitting at +122. On FanDuel, I'm getting +175, and I'm able to take this bet at a huge 50 to 60 cent discrepancy. As you can see, it just got replaced on the board. I no longer can take it because it actually got bumped over on FanDuel. The odds are no longer at +175 because they made a mistake and there was a huge discrepancy. Now, if you have this green live button playing at all times, you'll consistently see new bets popping up, and you'll see that bets that you can take over on FanDuel, DraftKings, Bovada, whatever sportsbook you have available to you, and you'll be able to consistently put in plus EV plays. So one of my biggest strategies is essentially putting in my books that I use, sitting on the whale watch tool, clicking the live button, and basically just taking EV bet after EV bet, compounding the amount of bets I put in every single day. Now, my goal is to put in 30 to 40 to even 50 bets every single day, some days even being 100 plus bets a day. That's exactly how you beat these books. You get limited and you're able to move to different books like exchanges, which are NoVIG, Kalshi, ProfitX, and take advantage of books that don't limit you when you actually profit money. Now, I can assure you these sports books are more than easy enough to take advantage of and actually get limited on, and all you need is a tool like this called Upside Tools, and you can literally try this for 5 days for completely free if you want to with the link below. Plus, you'll get a 25% off discount with code ICON, so you're actually able to use this tool and make some money for yourself. Now, just a recap of what we went over. Essentially, you want to go on the game line optimizers, the player prop optimizers, set your correct filters, set the books that you're actually going to be playing on, go to the whale watch tool and do the exact same thing, set the books that you want to be playing on, and use the NoVIG calculator to devig some of the sharpest books lines and compare them to. And once you devig them by putting the top and the bottom of the sharp books odds in that NoVIG calculator, take the fair odds value, compare it to what you have on your value book, and essentially take discrepancies with those books. That's how you beat the books. You want to essentially take positive expected value bets compared to the sharp books like Pinnacle on game lines and FanDuel on player props. And I can assure you, if you're doing this every single day and you're consistently compounding these bets, you're scaling your bankroll, you're scaling your unit size, you'll be able to be a profitable sports bettor within the next 30 days if you just follow exactly what I did in this video every single day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. That way you don't miss another one just like this. And if you do want to get all my plays 50% off, code YouTube with the first link in the bio. Or you can try the tools yourself for free. Use code ICON at checkout, and you'll also get 25% off with your 5-day free trial. I'll see y'all later. Peace.